I'm sure you've experienced sometimes a challenge with ending a scene. How do you end a scene? A 500 word, 1,000 word scene. Well, one thing you can try actually is to end scenes with quotations. I don't see it done that often, but if you have a poignant quote that somebody said, near the end of that amusing moment or that stressful moment that you're writing about in your past, end it on the quote, and that'll leave something lingering in the mind of the reader, that they'll think about at the end of that scene. And I give a really good example here from one of my clients, one of my students, who was writing about coming to Canada. So he grew up in India, I think, and immigrated with his family to Canada, and he's writing here about, I think, being 6 or 7 years old and going for a bike ride. And let me read this story. He's trying to get a sense of Canada, the sense of the suburbs and coming to this new place. And he's riding his bike through the sidewalks of this town. And there's a really poignant final quote. And the author ended it on this quote. I thought that was really good, and it made me think, about the immigrant experience. So let me read this. That ride was different. I gently strolled down the sidewalk and glanced at every house. For some reason, I found it amusing that the garages of every house were a different color. I rode to a nearby park where many kids of my age played. I decided to go and make some friends. At first, I was nervous because my English wasn't too great, but I got over it. I saw a boy playing with his father, and I thought I'd approach them first. I approached with my tight denim jeans and navy blue hat and said hi. The kid looked at me and then glanced at his father and said, "Dad, it's one of them." So that final quote, that's a pretty poignant quote to end the scene, right? And that just speaks to the concern, and not rightly so, but a concern by the father and the son about immigration. He doesn't say in the story that the father and son were white, but the assumption is that they were different because the little boy, just comes out and says, "Dad, it's one of them." And that was a really poignant final quote, I think, for this author. Just showing that he felt out of place here in Canada after, emigrating and coming with his family. So think about that sometimes, that when you're trying to figure out where to end a scene, maybe cut back a little bit, delete some of the text, and end on a poignant quote.